whenever I bring up Ernest Becker's work, which I do, and yours quite a bit, I find it surprising how that it's not a lot more popular in a sense that no, we're not. Well, I don't mean just your book.
Yeah.
That's well written. People should read it, should buy it, whatever. I think it has the same kind of qualities that are useful to think about as like Jordan Peterson's work and stuff
Sure.
like that. But I just mean like why people are not don't think of that as a compelling description of the core of the human
Yeah.
condition. Like, I think what you mentioned about Heidegger is quite connects with me quite well. So I ask on this podcast, I often ask people if they're afraid of death. That's like almost every single person. I almost always get criticized for asking world class people, scientists and technologists, and about the fear of death and the meaning of life. And on the fear of death, they often like don't say anything interesting. What I mean by that is they haven't thought deeply about it. Like what
Yeah.
you kind of brought this up a few times of really letting it sink in.
Yeah.
They kind of say this thing about what exactly what you said, which is like it's something that happens not today. Like I'm aware that it's something that happens.
Yeah.
And I'm not the thing they usually say is I'm not afraid of death. I just want to live a good life, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And what I'm trying to express is like when I look in their eyes and the kind of the core of the conversation, it looks like they haven't really become like they haven't really meditated on death. I guess the question is, what do I say to people that there's something to really think about here? Like there's some demons, some realities that need to be faced
Yeah.
by more people.
Well, that's a tough one. I could tell you what not to do. So when we are young and annoying,
Yeah.
a lot of famous people, mostly psychologists, because that's who we intersected with, that, we would lay out these ideas and they would be, well, I don't think about death like that. So these ideas must be wrong.
Yeah.
And we would say, well, you don't think about death because you're lucky enough to be comfortably ensconced in a cultural worldview from which you derive self-esteem. And that has spared you the existential excruciations that would otherwise arise. But that's like Freud. You're repressing, so you either agree with me, in which case I'm right, or you disagree with me, in which case you're repressing and I'm right.
Well, so that's the Nietzsche thing. What I've felt when there've been moments in my life when I really thought about death. I mean, there's not too many. Like really, really thought about it, and feel the thing when you felt at 8. Maybe I'm dramatizing or romanticizing it, but I feel like it's the conservatives call it popularly like, or the movie Matrix call it the red pill moment. I feel like it's a dangerous thought because I feel like I'm taking a step out of society. Like there's a nice narrative that we've all constructed.
You are.
And I'm taking a step out, and it feels there's this feeling like you're basically drowning. I mean, it's not a good feeling.
It is not. But this gets back to the Heidegger Kierkegaard school of anxiety. You are stepping out.
Yeah.
And you are momentarily shrugging off the culturally constructed psychological accoutrements that allow you to stand up in the morning. And
but so I mean, in that sense, it feels like. I mean, what do you? How do you have that conversation? Because I guess I'm dancing around a set of questions, which is like I guess I'm disappointed that people are not as willing to step outside, like even just even any kind of thought experiment.
Yeah.
Let's forget denial of death. Like there's now a community of people let's take an easy one that I think is scientifically ridiculous, which is there's a community of people that believe that the Earth is flat,
Yeah.
or actually even better, that space is fake.
Yeah.
Like what I find surprising is that a lot of people I talk to are not willing to be like, imagine if it is like, imagine the Earth is flat. Like, think about it.
Right.
Like a lot of people just like, no, the Earth is round. They're like scientists
Yeah.
too. They're like, yeah, it's well, actually, wait, have you actually like thought about it? Like, imagine like
Yes.
a
Yes.
thought experiment that like basically step outside the little narrative that we are comfortable with. Now, that one in particular is has really strong evidence and scientific validation. So on, it's a pretty simple thing to show that it at least is not flat. But just the willingness to take a step outside of the stories that bring us comfort has been disappointing that people are not willing to do that.
Yeah.
And I think the philosophy that you've constructed and that Ernest Beck has constructed and you've tested, I think is really compelling. And the fact that people aren't often willing to take that step is
Yeah.
disappointing.
Well, yes, but perhaps understandable. I mean, this is an anecdote, of course, but when we were trying to get a publisher for our book, we had a meeting with a publisher who published some Malcolm Gladwell books.
Yeah.
And she said, I'm very interested in your book, but can you write it without mentioning death? Because people don't like death. And we're like, no, it's really kind of central. And I think that's part of it. I think, again, if these ideas have merit, and I actually like the way that you put it, Lex, it's that to step away is to momentarily expose yourself to all of the anxiety that our identity and our beliefs typically enable us to manage. I think it's as simple as that.
Yeah, I had this experience in college with my best friend who got really high. And he forgot it was in the winter. It was really freezing. It was memorable to me. I think it's an analogy. It's very useful. So he went to get some pizza. And
Of course.
of course. And he left me outside and said, I'll be back in 5 minutes. And he forgot that he left me outside. And I remember I was in like shorts.
Yeah.
It was freezing winter.
Wow.
And I remember standing outside. It's a dorm. And I'm looking from the outside in. It's a light and it's warm. And I'm just standing there frozen, I think for an hour or more. And that's how I think about it. Like, I don't give a damn about the stupid winter or anything. I just want to, it's like I'm drawn to be back to the warmth.
Yes.
And that's how I feel about thinking about like death. It's like, at a certain point, it's like, it's too much. It's like that cold.
I
want to be back into the warmth.
Back. And getting back to Heidegger for a moment, I like he uses a lot the idea of feeling at home, not as like in your house, but just feeling like you're comfortably situated.